Welcome everybody to the first episode of the Kiings Court. I am your king, but if you don't know who I am, let me introduce myself. I go by KiingJesss and I am one half of the tag team known as Word Around the Ring. Word Around the Ring is our main show where me and Big Rob cover any major happenings in the world of professional wrestling week to week. But my love for this business far exceeds that just of the main Western product. I love watching it all, from the stuff here in the States to what they got cooking down south, even to the far reaches of Japan. I always have my ear to the mat and I love being in the know. Kiings Court will allow me to talk about other promotions that we just don't get a chance to cover on WATR. But I don't want to make this another hour listen to your week. So Kiings Court will be a more bite-sized morning commute friendly show where I can rapid fire segments and even leave you with a match or two to watch at the end of the show. With that being said, I am breaking the code already, as the two topics for today are WWE related. Big Rob is out on vacay, so this episode of Kiings Court will be taking place of WATR this week. But don't worry, I have Rob's predictions right here, so let's get right into it. The two subjects that we have this week for King's Court is one, Money in the Bank and our predictions going into that, and two, Worlds Collide. I just want to go over every match that has been announced and has been made official for Worlds Collide. And then for Money in the Bank, we're just going to go over the final two qualifiers that happened this past week. And then I'm going to give you mine and Rob's predictions for the show. As, like I said, both of these shows happen this Saturday. They've kind of snuck up on us, but I am hyped. I am ready. We have some strong cards on both of these pay-per-views. So let's start off talking about the female qualifying match. We had Liv Morgan versus Ivy Nile versus Stephanie McCurr on Monday Night Raw. This coming after Stephanie McCurr lost her title on NXT to JC, and she just got the call up. And you know what? I'm not mad about this. I'm a huge Stephanie fan. I'm completely biased in this subject, seeing as she won this qualifying match. You know, she beat out Liv Morgan. She beat out Ivy Nile, which Ivy and Liv had an amazing showing. I think at one point even Liv kind of cracked Ivy Nile at one point, and Ivy just couldn't recover from it almost the whole match. But she pulled it through. She, like a professional, went from start to finish. Even if she had a nose injury, I'm not quite sure if she ended up suffering something there. But she finished the match. But at the end of the night, you know, Stephanie was declared the winner, and she's going on to be the final female inside of this Money in the Bank match on Saturday. And to be honest, I had Naomi winning this last week, but I think my bias is just gonna win over on this match just a little bit, and I'm just gonna have to go with Stephanie, to be honest, for it all. But we will get there on the predictions. But right now, I just want to talk about the qualifying matches. This match, it was good. Like I said, there were some pretty hard hits coming from Liv Morgan and Ivy Nile, and just in general, you know, that crowd was so behind Stephanie that I think that they are going to push her to the moon. And again, like I said, I'm not mad at it. So that was the first qualifying match. Stephanie went on. And then for the final men's qualifying match, we had CM Punk versus AJ Styles versus El Grande Americano. And to be fair, I had no idea where this was going to go until the episode of Raw started. And just like always, you know, CM Punk decides to bite off a little bit more than he can chew, and he decided to get himself involved in something that Sammy clearly told him not to get himself involved in. And it just came back to bite him in the ass, you know. He came in, he decided to get involved within the tag match. I think it was Jay and Sammy versus Braun and Braun Breaker and Big Bronson Reed. And that cost him, because at the end of the night, you know, once that match had finished, Seth clearly told Breaker, don't worry, we know where he's going to be later. And they did. They knew that he was going to be in that qualifying match and at the end. And after seeing that, I knew that CM Punk just wasn't going to win this. Even though we had said last week that Punk seemed like he might have been the favorite to winning it all. I knew as soon as he put his foot where it shouldn't have been, I knew that he wasn't going to win it. But at that point, I had no idea who I was going to cheer for. Was I cheering for AJ Styles or was I cheering for Grande Americano? Y'all know that we fuck with Grande Americano a lot. I love El Grande Americano. I've been rocking my shirt all fucking week. But the logical pick in this situation would have been AJ Styles, especially since we've talked about it before. AJ Styles is going on a retirement tour. So to give him maybe one last chance at that Money in the Bank, I think that would have been cool. And that would have probably been the logical decision here. But at the end of the night, El Grande Americano came out on top, and this shit gets me hyped. This shit gets me hyped because I know that some people probably think that Seth has this in the bag. One of those people saying being Rob. Rob has Seth as one of his predictions. I don't think it comes down that easy anymore. I think that WWE has a really big chance right now to surprise us and have Grande Americano win. And to be honest, if that's the big moment, if winning the Money in the Bank is the big moment where Americano rips off that mask and finally shows us that it's Chad Gable, I'm happy with it. But if he just wants to win it and then go on to challenging for a belt, winning the belt, and then showing us that it's Chad Gable, I'm with that too. I'm with that too. But now we have this interesting pathway we can go with having El Grande Americano win. And I'm all fucking for it. I would have loved to seen AJ Styles in the Money in the Bank, but we've seen that before. We're not missing anything there. I would love to see AJ Styles probably be in some more committed rivalries if this is, the little bit of time we have left with him. But for sure, Grande Americano winning this was not what I had in mind. But am I happy for it? Absolutely. I think that, like I said, WWE has an amazing chance right now to do something big. And I know a lot of people will not be with that mentality. They probably do not like El Grande Americano as much as someone like me and Rob do. But honestly, this has been one of the more compelling storylines that we've had in the WWE until probably the Seth faction came along. We weren't really that invested in many of the storylines. There was a lot of storylines that were starting to fall flat. Even me a couple weeks ago, I said that it looked like WWE was starting to nosedive, but it's stuff like El Grande Americano making it to Money in the Bank that gives me hope that they have something big for him, And if it is Chad Gable at the end of the day, even better, because I love Chad Gable and we just want to see him win. With all the combatants now locked in, let's go over our predictions for Money in the Bank. I have, like I said, Rob's predictions right here. So let's go match by match and let's give you our predictions for who's going to win this weekend. First up, we got the men's Money in the Bank match. We have Solo Sikoa versus LA Knight versus Penta versus Seth Rollins versus Andrade versus El Grande Americano. Like I said before, I think that I'm going to put all my eggs into one basket and I'm going to declare that El Grande Americano takes it all. I think that would be a very fun post Money in the Bank run for El Grande Americano. Rob, on the other hand, he thinks that the big man with the new big faction is going to win, Seth Rollins. So there are our two picks for the men's Money in the Bank. Next, let's look at the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Alexa Bliss versus Roxanne versus Rhea Ripley versus Julia versus Naomi versus Stephanie McCurry. Like I said before, my bias on this one is also going to win. I want to see them push Stephanie to the top, especially after having her lose her belt in such a anticlimactic manner. On the other side, actually, no, we're both on the same side. I have Rob down for Steph as well, with the side note of saying fuck it. I think he's on the same note as I am, where, you know what, we both love Stephanie and seeing her with the belt wouldn't be that bad. Next up on the card, we have Becky versus Lyra. I have Lyra winning this. I don't really think that there's any reason for Becky to be winning a belt, especially right now in the course of her career that she's taking. I just don't find her as compelling as a lot of people do, but that's just my personal bias. Rob, on the other hand, he does have Becky winning, which is interesting. I'll have to, talk to him more about that when we return next week on our review episode, because I honestly thought he'd probably be on the same page. I thought maybe we were on the page that Lyra shouldn't be losing the title anytime soon. She has held it for a bit though, so I could be wrong on this point, but she, in my opinion, needs to defend a little bit more. I just feel like she hasn't done that yet, and to do her some credit, we should give her the time for her to be able to do that. This is a title match between her and Becky, so I guess this will count as a notch under her belt, but I just don't think that she loses it on this run. And then for the final match, we have Cena and Logan versus Cody and Jay. These boys had a very interesting exchange of words on Friday. I just wanted to bring that to note because, again, if you don't know by now, I don't think Jay is him. And if you saw the promo battle on Friday, then you should start thinking that too. While everybody in that ring at least cut a decent minute to 2-minute promo, Jay decided to do his same old, song and dance. yah yeet and hit, and it's not up to par anymore. It's not what you want to see from a champion, at least from my side, and it's starting to piss me off. So I hope that by the end of this match, or even after this match, someone cashes in on Jay and they take that belt away from him, because I do not want to see Jay versus Gunther on Monday night. I just don't. But for this match, me and Rob both have Cena and Logan winning. I don't think we see Cena losing anytime soon, especially in a tag match. But this match does present um an interesting turn of events if done well, because you can have this be one of Cena's losses during this retirement tour that kind of just doesn't stain his reputation, and I would be completely fine with that. If this ends and maybe not even a winner of the deciding match, and it is because we're getting a run in, I'm fine with that. I do think that maybe they'll save the run in for post match, but like I said, if they want to end this match so that no one gets a loss, no one gets a win, then I would imagine that they would have the run in during the match. And what a better opportunity to present itself for the person with the money in the bank than having both of the champions in the ring at the same time. So it's an interesting situation. I'm excited to see this go down. I'm excited for the whole pay-per-view. The whole pay-per-view looks like it's stacking up to be a good show, but we shall see. Money in the Bank is this Saturday, remember, and it is after Worlds Collide. So now let's get down to business on our final subject, and let's talk about Worlds Collide. Worlds Collide is a pay-per-view that's being presented between AAA and NXT after their big acquisition of AAA over WrestleMania weekend, and we have about 4 matches announced for this card. Let's go through them each, and I will tell you a little bit about everybody that's wrestling in these matches, and if I have a match for you to go watch for them, I'll try to direct you that way. Any links I'll try to have in the description of the video down below. First up, which I'm guessing this might be the main event of the show, we have Hijo del Vikingo versus Chad Gable for the AAA Mega Championship. This is a huge match. This match has been talked about for weeks, especially following the controversy of Del Rio being the AAA Mega Champion not even 2 weeks ago, and WWE spoiling the ending to that match because they announced Hijo del Vikingo versus Chad Gable for the belt, that giving away his match's finale. And for this one, listen, Vikingo's been trotted around the WWE. If you don't know who he is by now, if you haven't searched up his name, I definitely implore you to do so. And if you want a match to watch, just go watch his last match that he just had, where he won the AAA Mega Championship. It was him versus Del Rio. They have it up for free on YouTube. Definitely check that out. Am I gonna give predictions for this? Sure, fuck it. I'm gonna predict that Vikingo keeps it just because he just won it, and there's no real reason for Chad Gable to be holding that championship. But I'm gonna tell you right now, if Chad Gable wins, I wouldn't be mad at it. How hilarious would it be if the man that's been trying to overcome every luchador in his path takes the one thing that those luchadors value the most? So I think it would be completely hilarious if Chad Gable won this. I don't think he'll win this, but if they go that route, hey, I'm not going to be mad at it. The second match on this card is NXT North American Championship Fatal 4-Way match between Ethan Page, Rey Fenix, Javon Evans, and Laredo Kid. Now, I'm not the biggest Ethan Page fan. I have been becoming more of an Ethan Page fan over the past few weeks. I've loved the stuff that he's been doing with Ricky Starks, and seeing him brutally beat Ricky Starks for the belt and kind of etching his way into this pay-per-view has been kind of crazy and kind of fun to experience. So I'm very excited for this match. Shockingly, I think I have Ethan Page winning this match, only because I don't see them putting the belt on Laredo Kid or Rey Fenix, because Rey Fenix is on the main roster. Javon Evans is probably the stronger pick to winning this if it's not an Ethan Page, but I just don't think Javon Evans is there yet. He has a bright future, but to put a belt on him this soon would be a little premature for my taste. So I think that at the end of the night, Ethan Page retains this, whether it be clean or through some fuckery. I think Ethan Page is going to hold that belt up high at the end of the night. After this, we have a 6-man tag match, and this is actually one of the ones that I am more excited about. We got our boys from the WWE, in Legado del Fantasma, Santos Escobar, Angel Umberto versus El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., Pagano, and Psycho Clown. Now, if you don't know these cats from Mexico, I definitely recommend going back and watching the Reyes de Reyes 2005 pay-per-view that they put up on YouTube, because most of the people that are going to be used in this pay-per-view were used during that pay-per-view. So you'll get a good kind of view at what you have coming for this Saturday. And let me tell you, Dr. Wagner Jr., that boy clean. Pagano and Psycho Clown, if I've ever seen these two cats fucking not put on a show, it would be strange, because they definitely always come with that high octane energy and that hard hitting Mexican style. So I'm extremely excited to see these cats go up against Legado del Fantasma. We brought this up in personal talks between me and Rob, and I do know he thinks Legado is going to come over on this one, but honestly, I think they're going to put the Mexicans over on this one. I think Wagner Jr., Pagano, and Psycho Clown will come out victorious at the end of the night, and it will be a huge, huge showing for these guys. So I'm extremely excited for this one. And the final match, at least the final match that they have announced for the night, is a match that was made official on NXT after a little altercation before the attack of JC on Stephanie, and that is Stephanie Vaquer and Lola Vice versus Dallas and Chica Tormenta. Both these ladies from the Mexican side also were on that Reyes de Reyes pay-per-view card, so I would implore you to go watch that if you want to see these girls in action. I think both of these girls are some of the higher talented stars in AAA at the moment. They're definitely some of the people that they trot out there more often than other talents, so they're pretty big on them, and I would imagine that's why they decided to use them for this pay-per-view. But as for who I think wins this one's a tough one, but I am going to give it to Stephanie and Lola, just because I think that if Legado's going to lose in the men's tag match, I think the females go over in the female tag match. That's just me, though. Dallas and Chica Tormenta will put on a show, though. I implore you to pay attention to Chica Tormenta. She's a high flyer. She's quick, so you're going to have fun watching her. But Dallas is just as amazing. All these ladies are going to bring down the house. But that brings us to an end of what we're talking about this week on Kiing's Court. I promise you that next week we will be talking about stuff that isn't WWE, as Rob will be back and we will be able to film a new episode of WATR. But until next week, I hope that you enjoy the pay-per-views this weekend. Tell us if we got any of our picks wrong. Tell us what your picks are. Tell us if you have any predictions on who's winning the Money in the Banks and who's cashing in. Are they cashing in the same night? Do you think we get a title change by the end of Money in the Bank? Let us know. Until then, follow us on all socials at Word Around the Ring Pod, and we'll catch you next week for a review of Money in the Bank and Worlds Collide. Peace.